Good morning, it's Kristine Vicente with QueenCityStampArt.com, and today I'm here to show you a clean and simple Sunday card using the Abstract Impression stamp set from Stampin' Up. So for today's card, we're going to use these rose flowers on our card base to create a focal point and a couple of the leaves. This set is amazing for watercolor techniques because it already has kind of that sketchy watercolor look to it. So today we're not going to use watercolor, we're just going to use straight ink because it is Clean and Simple Sunday. But in the future, I'm sure I'll be showing you some videos using this stamp set and my little spray, my little mini mister. So for today, we're just going to take the roses and the little leaves and create a thank you card for Clean and Simple Sunday. So the supplies for today's card are just a simple Whisper White thick card base that was laid on my trimmer at 4 1/4 and cut in half. It was an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of paper, so you can get 2 card bases out of 1 sheet of cardstock. I generally make 2 cards at a time. I feel like if you're going to cut the cardstock, you may as well make both of the cards. It's no harder to make 2 cards than it is to make 1, especially on a Clean and Simple Sunday day. So I'm only going to make 1 on the video, but I really technically did make 2 cards for this using these supplies. So the card base is a simple white base card because we're going to be stamping a focal point here, and then this little green strip is going to be used for the sentiment, and then I have a little piece of silver glimmer cardstock. I just love this. I feel like it adds such a nice sparkle and such an interesting dress up to any card. So we're going to use that today. I'll set those aside and we'll get busy on the base card. So for this card, we're going to be using the rose images. As I pointed out, this stamp set has 3 roses. They all layer together, or you can use them separately, depending on the look you're trying to get. The more you layer the image, the more depth you get on the image. In this case, we're only going to use these 2 layers. Normally you do this layer, then this layer, then this layer as the accent. So we're going to use these 2. I'm going to skip that one, and you'll see the card will come out beautiful. The roses are really pretty. I'm going to use a color palette today of Flirty Flamingo, Calypso Coral, and Granny Apple Green. These colors are gorgeous for summer. I think they're bright and fresh. It just reminds me of a beautiful watermelon when I look at those. So we're going to start with the Flirty Flamingo as the light color, as the base color for our roses. So this is the biggest, like kind of the chunkiest image. We're going to stamp the roses in a little trio cluster here, keeping them kind of close together. So that's the base. Then we're going to take the Calypso Coral and add an accent on the top of those to give them a little bit more definition. There's really no right and wrong way to line these up, these stamps. You just kind of lay them on the top there, and they layer together nice no matter where you put them, really. And those are our roses. Now they look like kind of like little pink blobs, really, until we add the leaves. Once we add the leaves, then it's going to look more like a flower cluster. So we're going to add the base layer. Now I only have 1 color of this Granny Apple Green. I don't have a light version of this or a darker version of this. So I'm going to make one, and I'm going to show you how you stretch your stamps by doing that. So for this card, the base layer, I want it to be a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up the base layer stamp it off once on some scrap paper, and then stamp it onto my card project to get a lighter version of it. So now I have a lighter version of that ink. I'm going to do that again here, and I'm going to do it a 3rd time here. There we go. So now we have 3 light leaves. Then for the accent layer of the leaf, I'm going to use it full strength. I'm not going to stamp it off. I'm just going to use the full strength of the color. And as you can see, you get a little light and dark contrast, which is really nice. It kind of stretches your stamp pad stash because you actually have a light and a dark version of each of those colors. So now it looks like a little cluster of sketchy roses. Really pretty, very simple. Kind of did it off the side of the card. I think that gives some visual interest rather than kind of making a cluster in the middle. But you can do that too and just add a sentiment banner across the front. So we're going to keep this focal point kind of to the right and add a sentiment strip here to the card base. So I have my Memento black ink pad right here, And the sentiment's all ready to go on the block. I'm going to ink that up good and stamp it down on here. You might notice that I'm using the Stampin' Pierce mat under my project. So I don't always use this. Sometimes I just use my grid paper when I have the red rubber stamps. These are the photopolymer stamps, and because the layer of foam is missing, when you use these you don't have a layer of foam like you do with red rubber. I have this mat, the Stampin' Pierce mat that I'm using underneath my project to give it some cushion so I get a nice impression. It just can really improve your impressions if you have this mat. It's only $5 and it makes a huge difference when you're using photopolymer stamps. And I really recommend it for any photopolymer stamps. So you could have any company's stamps out there. You should get one of these mats because it really can help with your impressions. You get a much crisper impression. So of course I'm going to fishtail pennant this a little bit. I like fishtail end it with the points like that. And then I'm going to add, it looks really pretty just how it is, right? But then when you add the glimmer, I don't know, that just really dresses it up. So we're going to use the glimmer paper. I'm just going to trim a little point on that and glue it to my card base. Using some mono multi adhesive like this. And then I'm going to add dimensionals to this piece. Dimensional adhesive to have this piece pop off the card base a little bit. There we go, just like that. Then I'm going to use, I think to finish off the card, I'll use some of those rhinestone gems that I love. And just add a tiny bit of sparkle, a little bit of extra sparkle on this one. There we go. And there we have it, a clean and simple Sunday thank you note using Abstract Impressions stamp set. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.